We've come to greet you, Ashe, Ashe. Bunga lafia, Ashe, Ashe. Bunga lafia, Ashe, Ashe. You see, a long time ago, the king and queen of Ile Ife, would you say Ile Ife? They were expecting some very special guests like yourselves. Well, when special guests, you dress up in your finest, you have wonderful music like Baba Siddiqui, Baba Alfonso, and you create a dance of welcome. Well, the ladies took scarves and they wrapped them on their fingers and they created this dance of welcome. Do it from your seats, from your heart to the sky. Use your hands from your heart to the sky, from your heart to the sky. Now down to the ground, from your heart to the ground, from your heart to the ground, from your down, from your heart to the ground. Faster, up, 2, 3, and down. Take your arms to your right. We're here to greet you. Ashe, Ashe. We're here to greet you. Ashe, Ashe. Bunga lafia.
Ashe, 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 Ashe. Habari Gani, y'all. Habari Gani. What is the news today? What is the news today, friends? The news today is Ujamaa. 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 Cooperative economics. Cooperative economics. So, just to recap, you'll recall that Habari Gani is Swahili for what's the news. And what's the news? We respond with the principle of the day. And today's principle is Ujamaa, cooperative economics. And so we begin by lighting our unity candle, which represents the principle of umoja. And then we light our second candle, which represents the principle of self-determination, or Kujichagulia. And then we light our Ujamaa candle, which represents collective work and responsibility. Let me move this out the way so that we don't start any... Sorry, y'all. Things are falling. Give me 1 second. I didn't want these plants to catch a fire. I apologize for needing to do that. Sorry for the camera being all over the place. And then we light today. I should have done this already, but I wanted you to participate. And we light the candle for the principle for today, which is Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Now, these two candles have burned down some because on the day of self-determination, we actually had the community over to our home where we conversed about how we can become a self-determining people, or how we can retrieve some self-determining ways for our progress and for our futuring. And so today I want to share with you just a little bit about this principle, Ujamaa, which is actually my favorite principle. The fourth principle is Ujamaa cooperative economics and is essentially a commitment to the practice of shared social wealth and the work necessary to achieve it. Ujamaa literally means familyhood and suggests a sharing of work and wealth in the manner of a family. It grows out of the fundamental and communal concept that social wealth belongs to the masses of people who created it, and that no one should have such an unequal amount of wealth that it gives the person the capacity to impose unequal, exploitative, or oppressive relations on others. I want to read that sentence again. That social wealth belongs to the masses of people who created it, and that no one should have such an unequal amount of wealth that it gives the person the capacity to impose unequal, exploitative, or oppressive relations on others. Sharing wealth is another form of communitarian exchange, i.e., sharing and cooperating in general. But it is essential because without the principle and practice of shared wealth, the social conditions of exploitation, oppression, and inequality, as well as deprivations and sufferings, are increased. Thus, as President Julius Nyerere of Tanzania in his discussion of Ujamaa says, Ujamaa is, quote, based on the assumption of human equality, on the behalf that it is wrong for one person to dominate or exploit another, and on the knowledge that every individual hopes to live in a society as a free person, able to lead a decent life in conditions of peace with their neighbors. Ujamaa, Nyerere tells us, is above all human-centered concern, foremost with the well-being, happiness, and development of the human person. And the assumption is that conditions for such well-being, happiness, and development are best achieved in context of shared social wealth. Moreover, President Nyerere states that Ujamaa rejects the idea of wealth for wealth's sake, as opposed to wealth for the well-being for all. And he notes that Ujamaa is, quote, a commitment to the belief that there are more important things in life than the amassing of riches, and that if the pursuit of wealth clashes with things like human dignity and social equality, then the latter will be given priority. In the context of improving and ensuring the well-being of the people, quote, the creation of wealth is a good thing and something we shall have to increase, end quote. But he concludes that, quote, it will cease to be good the moment wealth ceases to serve humans and begins to be served by humans, end quote. Again, that is a summary of today's principle, the 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba, the 4th principle of this African American cultural day, cultural acknowledgement and observance, which represents the principle of Ujamaa. Ujamaa. Likewise, I want to share with you an example of what cooperative economics looks like. For us here at Pink Robe Chronicles and The Clearing, cooperative economics is also a form of mutual aid. I want to provide for you briefly a little bit of history on a mutual aid society, one named the African Union Society. Mutual aid societies, and this is by Michael Barga. Mutual aid societies were created by free blacks in the early period of the United States as a way of mitigating difficult times, since avenues of welfare were often segregated and controlled by whites. The societies also acted as cultural centers for local communities in conjunction with churches. Membership in mutual aid societies had spiritual, moral, and philosophical components which complemented the practical benefits of financial assistance when illness and death struck the family. Most mutual aid societies at this time were short-lived and not always well documented. But the evidence is clear that such groups existed and contributed positively to the free Black and enslaved community. In 1780, the African Union Society was created in Newport, Rhode Island. While most Blacks from Rhode Island were free by 1807, strong prejudice and oppression were present before and after that date. The AUS developed partly in response to these difficulties, as well as a form of Black cultural discussion. The society is considered one of the first formal organizations founded by free Blacks in the United States and the first mutual aid society for African Americans, although similar societies will form over the next 30 years throughout the Northeast. Some of the difficulties faced by free Blacks of Rhode Island at this time included recording births, deaths, and marriages of their community. And on this premise, the AUS was created. It is not surprising that this marginalized group could depend only on themselves to document family and communal life in these basic ways. Blacks were segregated in churches, kept out of public schools, denied employment, and even separated from whites in cemeteries. The society provided this documentation service to free Blacks and enslaved people. Former enslaved people, including Newport Gardner and Pompey Zingo Stevens, were two of the leaders in creating the African Union Society. By providing the basic record-keeping services previously mentioned, the society hoped to encourage a strong family structure for all Blacks in Newport. Additionally, the African Union Society took on young Black apprentices in hopes of creating a pathway to freedom for them. I want to stop right there, and I'm actually going to turn my camera around because I want to say something to you. Listen, this part about creating apprentices, that additionally, the African Union Society took on young Black apprentices in hopes of creating a pathway to freedom. That apprenticeship or being mentored or having mentors is to create pathways to freedom. Shout out to Mama Itihari Toure and her helping us to reconsider what we mean by mentoring and helping us to use the word apprentice. That apprenticing helps the person who is being apprenticed to unlock their gifts, their unique offering into the world versus the way that we understand mentoring, or at least the way that mentoring is performed here in the West, is for those who are doing the mentoring to unlock parts of themselves in the person being mentored. So that here we have earlier acts of apprenticeship here in the African Union Society, wherein those engaging in cooperative economics, that the main purpose of cooperative economics was that those who would apprentice would be able to pass along the ability to create pathways to freedom. Woo, my goodness. Listen. And so, friends, I end simply with reminding you that cooperative economics is the way that we pool our resources together, that we use our resources together to build what needs to be built, to develop what needs to be developed for the livelihood of Black folk. Period. It is one of the reasons why Pink Robe Chronicles and The Clearing, and thanks to you all who often always participate, engage in these calls for mutual aid. Because I am clear that what our history reveals to us is that we have always done this, right? Not just here in the Americas, but absolutely in the Caribbean and absolutely on the continent. But focusing in here in the Americas, how free Blacks created a society society to assist enslaved blacks and other free blacks to handle financial hardship that they provided for themselves. I wish that we would take serious time to consider all of these principles, but especially this one. I hope that you are observing Kwanzaa on this week, and we end this reflection by pulling down our 7 Harambe's, and on the 7th one, we hold the Harambe. So we begin by pulling our hand up, right? Up like this, and then we pull down. We pull down with the closed fist. So we go up with our hand, with our fingers spread apart, and we pull down in a fist. Y'all ready? All right. Natasha, if you're still watching, I hope that Grace is watching with us, Ashe, and that she will participate in this part. So we're going to do our 7 Harambes. Ready? Harambe, 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 Harambe. This is the 7th one, so we're going to hold it. Harambe. Ashe, 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 Ashe. Oh, be well, friends, on this last Friday of 2023. Be well and consider all of the principles of Kwanzaa, and particularly this 4th principle of cooperative